All right. Surprise, 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 everyone. And welcome to a lovely, I must say, Mother's Day edition of your favorite baseball show,
Yes,
27
sir.
Outs. We are here yet again. Two episodes within the week, as we like to promise you guys. We have our weeks where sometimes, things happen, but this week, we're sticking to the game plan. As always, I am Ivan alongside my partner in crime here, Stefan. And we talk baseball here for an hour. So for those of you who are here, shout out to all of you who are here early. As you can tell by the title of today's video, we have a couple of things to get into, plus more as always. But before we get into that, there's a couple of things that I wanted to address at the top of tonight's show. First and foremost, shout out to the mothers, right? As I mentioned, today is Mother's Day. And I know this was a surprise for some of you guys because a lot of people are probably with the family, whether you went to go visit them or whether they came to come see you. Whatever the case may be, a lot of people are spending time with the ladies in their lives who are moms, right? So shout out to my mom. Shout out to your mom, Stefan. Shout out to my grandmother. I actually had a lovely dinner made by my sister tonight. Shout out to my sister who's probably watching as well.
Listen,
Listen,
she
man,
make you? What she make you?
she made I didn't have rice because I'm not big on rice. That's
Me
not
either.
nothing towards her, but that's just me in general. But in
Right.
addition to the rice, she made a bomb ass lasagna. She made a fire up at Nate. For those of you who know, man. If it's made well, just imagine what my taste buds were going through earlier today when I was having that meal. So
Oh,
shout out to
your shit was dancing.
yes, literally, and it was good, man. It was good. I definitely give her a 10 out of 10 for putting
There
that
you
meal
go.
together today.
Big
But
sip.
yeah, man, as I mentioned, shout out to all the mothers who watched the show. Not only because today's Mother's Day, but in general, right? I know my
Mhm.
mom is big on supporting the show. I know your mom is also a big supporter of the show, Stefan. So shout out to
Always,
them as well.
always.
I did see what you
Yeah.
put on Instagram to shout your mom out, in honor of Mother's Day. That was nice, because listen, bro, you and I, we've known each other for some time now, right? But in a way, I've also known your mom for nearly just as long. So when I
Yeah,
read
bro.
that, it was like, damn, it was almost as if I was in your shoes for a second.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be here without her. Like, I
Hmm.
think that's the most important thing is like you start to realize like mothers are really important to everything we do, man. From giving us life to pushing us when we don't want to push ourselves, to showing us the way when we feel like acting like a fool. You know what I'm saying? Because there's moments where I can be a little bit disruptive and I can do what the hell I want to do, but that's when you got Mom Dukes to
I
set you
mean,
on.
you did say you've gotten better with age. So I
I'm
know you're
trying.
referring to when you were younger for sure, because some of the
No.
stories you shared with me.
Oh yeah. But you start to try to realize, like, yo, it's I'm sure you going this through this too now with your son. You know what I'm saying? You start to see the evolution of life. Life changes. Things go through. You go through stages. You know what I'm saying? So watching, my mom as she, evolves. You know, you go from working full time to taking care of the crib to taking care of me and my brothers to now she's taking care of my niece. You know what I'm saying? And like the evolution in life is crazy. So
It's like a trickle down effect.
yeah, bro, it's like the
Hmm.
shit you used to see your mom do for you, she's doing for somebody else. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
And the shit that you used to bitch about her doing, you wish she's doing that for you now. You know what I'm saying?
The crazy part is too, and I know almost every single person is able to relate to this before we get into baseball topics.
Right, for sure.
But I kind of feel like as you get older, right, especially guys like you and I who are now in our 30s, a lot of the things that used to piss us off when we were younger, and we didn't really understand why or where it came from. You get older and it's like, damn, now I know why my mom used to
Push
say
me
this to
in.
me. Now I
Yeah.
know my mom used to, whatever the case may be, because it may vary, right? Depending on who you're talking to. But the
Mhm.
one thing that we all could agree on is that for sure. So again, happy Mother's Day to every single mother, not just the moms who, support 27 outs, but just moms in general, man. Today is the day. I hope all of you enjoyed it. I hope you guys didn't do much,
Nah.
because Mothers, I kind of feel like their job is 24/7, 365.
Some superhero shit. Mom Dukes is
Yeah,
outside.
I don't know how they do it, man. But
Nah,
shout
man.
out to them. All right, so let's get into this, man. So one other thing I want to get into as well before we get into the topics. I know you guys are waiting for that. Big week we had here on 27 outs, I would say. And
For sure,
you
bro.
guys aren't really paying attention to the numbers like how we are, of course, behind the scenes. But honestly, we put out we put out more than 2 shorts this week, but to really put some emphasis on the 2 shorts that I'm referencing by getting into this point, we had a short where we posted it late at night. We woke up the next morning and it was at like 1,600 views. So shout out to those of you who supported us with that video. And then a couple of days later, we uploaded another short, right? And then that video ended up hitting 1,000 views within like an hour, if I'm not mistaken.
For sure, bro.
And that's crazy, So you guys obviously know that we have 192 subscribers. We've been pushing for 200 here, and I don't know, man. Us and the 190s, it's a battle right now. But we're gonna come out on top because Stephen and I are 2 guys who love to work. But I say that about the views when it comes to those shorts, and I've also spoken about some other shorts in the past as well. But it's only a matter of time until the amount of views and the subscribers who actually are supporting the channel ends up evening out, and it ends up being something that is rather 2 numbers that are pretty close to each other, right?
Word.
But this is only the beginning, a little more than a year in, and a whole lot left to come. But with that being said, let's get into some baseball. Earlier today, Stefan, because I know obviously we're not going to steer away from what we wanted to get into, but I think it's only right that we start with this, right? The Rockies, Bud Black, now out of a job. Let's start right there. Break that down for us, bro. And let's get into this for everyone.
So I was doing the Mother's Day thing, and so I couldn't be on the phone as much as I usually would be. But this was the least surprising firing this season. The Rockies are 7-33, and you look at it, and you're like, well, damn, like, why did he get fired? What did he do wrong to be fired? Bud Black did nothing wrong, in my opinion. The problem with Bud Black was he stood in Colorado for far too long when there was no reason to be in Colorado for that long. When the owner, Dick Manafort, continues to tell you he's not going to spend money, he continues to not invest into the team, he continues to nickel and dime his way through, what are you supposed to do as a manager? Like, if I'm Bud Black, and I know there's only 32 of these jobs, so this is not realistic. This is not a realistic thought. But at that point, before they fire you, I'd rather quit. It's that bad to the point where if you're about to get fired, I'm walking into the owner's office like, yo, you know what? I can't do this. You gave me nothing to work with again before you fire me, and I got to have the indignity of seeing my name plastered all over social media. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to quit. And, after they lost 21-0 yesterday to the Padres, I was kind of like, you know what?
Oh my gosh, that was bad.
That was bad. They put up 3 touchdowns on you dudes. It's like I was watching the Chargers versus the Broncos out here.
What's crazy? I know we're on the topic of the Rockies. I said the Rockies. Excuse me, the Rockies firing. But I feel like every week, we hit the air. There's another team scoring 20+ runs, man. Like, what's going on? It feels like at least every single team is probably gonna get a crack at 20 runs at least one time this season. That's what it feels like.
At some point, you do think somebody's gonna crack the 31 mark. Like, somebody hit 25 or 24 early this season. I think the Reds.
Yeah, exactly.
So it feels like 30 runs is not too far-fetched. The one thing I will say, though, is I feel like the offense is finally starting to get their get back. You know what I'm saying? Because for the last few years, the strikeouts have been at an all-time high. The pitching has been dominating, and now the offense seems to be leveling off, which you want it to be about fair play, fair competition, and it seems like we're getting that now. But, man, when you lose a game 21-0, that night, if I was Bud Black, I would have walked into the owner's office and said, listen, fire me right now. I'm quitting right now. This team is hopeless. There's nothing I can do. You're 7-33, brother. Like, come on, man.
Speaking of that, 7-33, I read something earlier regarding the Rockies. Do you know the start that they have gotten off to this year? They're on the verge of actually finishing the season with a worse record than what the White Sox finished with last season. I mean, that's how bad the Rockies are right now as we speak.
Man. It's not even. This is where I'm gonna say something. I wish we took something out of like professional soccer's book where it was relegation rules. I would relegate the Rockies at this point. I would put that roster in their minor leagues, and I would put the Rockies minor league roster in the big leagues and tell them it can't get no worse.
So how does that work? Because I don't really know too much about that, but maybe you could put me on. I'm sure maybe some of you who are watching either don't know or do know. But for those who don't know, just like me, we're about to learn.
So if I'm reading this correctly, because I could be wrong, so if anybody knows about relegation rules and there's a soccer head, hit the chat, please. I think if your record falls like below, like we call it 500 here in the States, but like if you're like really bad, where you're last in the point system, and you're not even in contention for nothing, and you do that for like 3 straight seasons, they relegate you. They make you have to fight to get back to the main like league. Because there's main leagues, but if they relegate you, that means they take you from the lower league, the higher league, and they put you in the lower league, and you have to play your way back into the higher league.
Gotcha. So I actually know. So I didn't know there was a term for it. I want to start there.
It's called relegation.
What you just said is something that I was aware of, not when it came to soccer, but I remember playing high school baseball, and there would be like an A division being a superior one, a B division. And if you were bad in the A, they would drop you off to the B division. And if you were good in the B division, you get promoted to the A division. So I see it kind of sounds like something like that, you know?
So Shrek has a comment here. We want to put this up. The worst couple of teams are sent to the lower league, and the best few teams from the lower league will take their spot. Yeah.
Shout out to you, Shrek. Thank you for clarifying that, bro. I appreciate it.
For sure. Listen, man. This is the last time I'm going to talk about the Rockies for this season. But I will tell you for the record, this is the type of stuff. This is the reason why I wouldn't want to work in professional sports. I understand people say it'll probably be a thrill for you because you love baseball, and you know that some people think I have the aptitude for it. I appreciate the compliment, but I'm not that smart. There's people smarter in this world, way smarter than me. Which is why I'm doing a podcast with you, because you're one of the smartest people I know. So I'm smart enough to know that I can't do the job, right? That I don't have the patience to do the job. But I also know that the human emotional side is hard. Because when you fire somebody and you tell them, hey, you're not doing a good job, so we have to fire you, that's hard.
Yeah, I mean, you're out of a job just like anybody else who works a regular job. Now, I know managing at the big league level is a different type of job, if you get what I'm saying.
Definitely.
But a job is a job at the end of the day. You know, one thing that you always point out when it comes to sports, Stefan, is this is how these guys pay their bills.
Yeah.
You know, like this is it.
Yeah. And so when people say, oh, he deserves to be fired, let's look at the context for the reasons why he was fired. It's not like the roster was underachieving. This was one of the worst rosters in baseball. What was he supposed to do? Make miracles out of nothing? Like Chris Bryant, I believe I saw a stat where Chris Bryant has played in just 18% of the Rockies games since he signed that 7-year deal a couple years ago.
Absolutely terrible, man. Not only for the Rockies, but for Chris Bryant's career. You know, we're talking about a guy who won the Rookie of the Year, won an MVP, won a championship with the Chicago Cubs when he was on the team, to then moving on to the Rockies and never looking like that player ever again. Like not even a glimpse of it.
But this is why I tell you all the time, players are going to want to take that money, especially if you know you're never going to be the same player again. Because I know deep down inside, he probably knows, man, I ain't never going to be the same player again. So let me just get this bag they offering me. Now, at the time, it looked like he was underpaid. But now you look at it like, damn, you ain't even playing the games.
He's overpaid, actually.
Shit. You know what I'm saying? So I understand why he would take that money, knowing, yo, I'm probably never going to be the same again as a player. So I have no other choice. And it's a very, very tough situation to be in, especially when you're Bud Black. You're trying to make the best of situations, but you know that, listen, the talent's not there. We play in Colorado, which is a bandbox of a ballpark. And the other thing is, this NL West you're a part of is sensational. They are very talented. You're dealing with the Dodgers, you're dealing with the Giants, you're dealing with the D-backs, you're dealing with talented teams. So you by default was gonna get, you're like the little brother that nobody wants to be around, that's just gonna get beat up and bullied and pushed around. That's you. That's what the Rockies are right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm wondering what's the next step for the Rockies and owner Dick Manafort.
Yeah, no, I was just because shout out to your mom. We hear in the background. So, she can't hear me, but shout out to her.
Let me put you on mute 1 second.
No, go ahead. Absolutely. Really think about it too, though, right? Before we move on to the Pirates and the decision that they made, which is very similar, if not the exact same thing, I must say, right? Forget the fact that it was similar. They did the same exact thing by firing their manager. But before we get into that, really think about it. It's been some time now since Chris Bryant signed that deal with the Rockies. But from the Rockies standpoint, have they even tried? Like, I get that was their attempt at trying, right? But after seeing that, a couple of years in, it's not working well for you. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that you go out there and make, another huge acquisition like that, because at the time that was big, like you said, right?
Right.
Because it seemed like he was underpaid, especially when you look back at his time with the Cubs.
Right.
What have they really done ever since then? What have they really done ever since they decided to move on from Trevor Story? In my opinion, I would say nothing really.
See, but this is the problem when your owner's only worth $700 million. Because remember when we were having discussion in the offseason about how the Rockies owner is the least rich owner in the big leagues?
Right.
Dick Manafort's net worth is $65 million less than Juan Soto's entire contract.
That's insane.
Dick Manafort's net worth is Shohei Ohtani's entire contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers.
I'm in disbelief that we have even gotten to that point where players are now worth more than owners. That's insane.
Or just as much.
Right.
That is insanity. And when you sit there and look at that, you start to wonder, like, are we biting off more than we can chew here? Like, are these owners able to even keep up with the demands of owning a professional team? Because there's nothing. What does it say about you as an owner when you come out and say, oh, we're going to be evaluating all sectors of the organization. We're going to be evaluating every part of what we're trying to do. What are we evaluating? What we're evaluating is the idea is that you're cheap and you can't afford to do this, so you should sell the team. But Black suffers because of it. Mike Redmond, your hitting coach, suffers because of it. Your players suffer because of it. And that is a requisite problem because of who owns a team, which is you. You own it, so you have to deal with the consequences of, if this doesn't work out, it's because of me.
The crazy part about that too is, Steph, and while I do agree with you, there's a flip side to this, right? And the flip side is, and this is crazy when you really think about it, but they would never admit it themselves, and they probably don't even think this way, but owners are really out here. Owners like that, right? Specifically owners like that who don't invest any money into their teams.
Right.
They really are walking out here every single day with their heads up high, thinking they're doing a damn good job. Could you believe it? So, like, you got to be out your damn mind.
So now that we transitioning, let's transition, brother. Derek Shelton.
This one, and we spoke about it briefly. We're going to get into it more right now. But this one was one of those where the Rockies won, as you mentioned. We all saw this coming at some point, right? And it really should have been Bud Black who just stepped away, because the Rockies just don't care about the organization itself. But the Pirates, I don't know, man. This kind of came off as, Paul Skeens has came at us a couple times this season, Let's do something to show him that we care. Would you agree? If not, and those of you who are watching right now, let us know in the comment section. But Stefan, tell us how you feel, bro, because that's the one where we really wanted to start it off with today. But then, of course, we found out about Bud Black.
I'm going to try and compose myself. Bob Nutting is the worst owner. Him and Dick Manafort are the two worst owners in baseball. You shouldn't even have teams at this point. What was he supposed to do with this roster? What was Derek Shelton supposed to do with this roster? Yes, you got pitching. But your biggest free agent signing this season was Andrew McCutchen, 1 year, $5 million. This pitching is going to get more expensive. And I'm choosing not to yell because I'm trying to be level-headed about this. Derek Shelton was a byproduct or a victim of the fact that the Pirates owner doesn't deserve to have a team. Ben Cherington doesn't deserve to be a general manager. And you don't deserve a pitcher like Paul Skeens. You don't deserve a pitcher like Jared Jones. You don't deserve a pitcher like the other young man they got, Keller, Mitch Keller.
Even some of the guys in the lineup, they don't deserve O'Neal Cruz. They don't deserve Brian Reynolds, just to add on to your list. Yeah.
The fan base deserves better than this. Oh, and by the way, do you know that the Pittsburgh Pirate owner is broke?
Broke, really?
Broke.
I got to hear this.
He has no money. This is real life. You can go read stories in the Pittsburgh Gazette. They were looking at the Pirates' financials. And there was an article that came out about Bob Nutting literally not having any money.
Wow. So a guy who, as we're getting into right now, invests no money into the team at all.
Like
you're telling me he's got no money.
Yeah, he has money, right? Like he got. When I mean broke, I mean not having the money to invest in the team, invest in your team, sign free agents. Just think about this. In Bob Nutting's entire ownership tenure with the Pittsburgh Pirates, you know what's the biggest contract he handed out? 2 years, $17 million to Russell Morton.
Wow.
So if we're sitting here talking about how do we put a team around Paul Skeens, Jared Jones, Mitch Keller, all those dudes, how we do it is we're going to have to literally gutter this. You're going to have to gutter this, and I'm going to say something that's absolutely insane. If I'm the Pittsburgh Pirates, I explore the possibility of trading Paul Skeens this winter. This winter. Well, why you say that, Steph? He's only in his second year and blah, blah, blah. And they can Paul Skeens is going to make more money than Bob Nutting's entire present value net worth in 1 year in his next contract. Not the entirety of the contract. In 1 year.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah, I think without a doubt, when Paul Skeens is finally able to hit free agency, I'm not even going to think twice about it. He is going to become the highest paid pitcher ever.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, easily.
And so it's like, but you knew Skeens was going to be here. You knew you had Keller. You knew you had these dudes in the pipeline, and you did nothing to improve the roster. Ivan, when they fired Derek Shelton, they were 12-26. Did the Pirates win today, by the way? I think they were playing the Cardinals. They win today?
Let's see. Let's check. The Pirates, they did win. Shout out to the Pirates. They beat the Braves 4-3.
Holy shit.
Oh, man. Yo, things are changing. Things are changing. Yo, Philly, stand up. Well, not Philly, but Pittsburgh. My bad. I can't say Philly. Because it's an actual team in Philly. But listen, for those of you in PA, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what's crazy about that is that ballpark in Pittsburgh is beautiful.
It is. It is.
PNC is a beautiful yard.
Yeah.
Like,
if I ever got the opportunity to visit, I would like to visit it.
I
For sure.
would. Yo, PNC is a beautiful yard. And the thing I'm trying to find out is if, yo, what are we doing? Speaking of what are we doing, let's get to some of these comments. Like, I want to see what the people are thinking right now.
Go ahead. Well, I didn't even know that we were already 25 minutes in, man. That's crazy. Time is flying.
Know what I mean? They talk about.
I agree. Beautiful point, Rick. Great point.
Wow.
And this is something that Stefan also likes to point out too. Like, you know, there's nothing wrong with expanding and wanting to do things differently. But, yo, how about you focus on, like, listen, perfection doesn't exist, but getting things that are right in front of you, not where exactly they should be, or at least close to where they have to be before you decide to branch out, you know?
I got to do this real quick on Shrek's comment. That's he just out here. Like, that comment right there is that is crazy, bro. Are you kidding me? And then you wonder why we don't.
That's true. That's true. Stefan, you actually, you know, when the season began, we were talking about the
I'm gonna just sip this tea because Ray's out here doing the talking for me. Keep going, Ray. I'm gonna just sip the tea, bro.
I remember you pretty much saying what Rick is saying right now. You know, like it's how you worrying about Y and Z when you don't even got X all together yet, you know?
Forget about X. They got to go back to A, B, and C.
Right.
You got to start at the beginning of the alphabet.
Yeah.
You worried about your Can we go here?
Go there on Mother's Day, man. Go there.
Shout out to all the mothers watching this. We're gonna try and keep the profanity at a low rate today.
By the way, Stefan, before you actually get into that, please don't lose your thought. But I noticed we're almost 30 minutes in, and I have not done it yet. Shout out to all of you watching right now. Make sure you guys go ahead and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, or X, whatever you guys want to call it nowadays, at 27outs3C. By the way, we are at 99 followers on Instagram. We are one more away from 100. So do we have the lucky number 100 watching right now? If so, open up the Instagram app and go follow us on Instagram. And for those of you watching via YouTube right now, thumbs up. It definitely goes a long way. And hit that subscribe button as we are still on the road to 200. I'm sorry, Stefan, but
no, you good, brother. It goes back to this point that me and you talk about sometimes privately. I brought up here on the show several times, which is, yo, you can't worry about trying to change somebody else's structure when your house looks like complete shit, right? You got two teams. You got three teams right now in the big leagues that are guaranteed to lose 100 games. The White Sox, the Pirates, and the Rockies. You got two teams playing in minor league ballparks. You got a CBA that's about to expire, and you got the players' union and the owners already starting a war a little bit. But you want to sit here and talk about expansion and Nashville and all these other places and, you know, keeping baseball in the city of Florida and all these things you want to do. And, let's put baseball in Utah and let's put baseball in this and let's do this and this. And I'm like, hold up. You're doing all that, but what about the things that are slowly killing the sport? The Rays and the A's are playing in minor league yards. You got, I would say half of baseball, half of these owners can't afford their teams. You feel what I'm saying? Like, outside of the Yankees, Dodgers, Mets, Cubs, when they want to spend money, all these teams, when they want to spend money, they spend money, right? But like, let's just have the conversation of like, yo, what about all the things that is wrong with your game and the fact that your union and your owners can't seem eye to eye on how to save whatever's left or whatever goodwill they're trying to accumulate by locking out the sport once again for the second time in 5 years.
Right.
Let's have conversations about that. Let's get real about the problems that persist in this sport. Because how is Bob Nutting still allowed to own a team when his newspaper businesses are damn near bankrupt?
Oh, so that's where he gets his money from.
Yes.
Newspaper business, right.
Right? Like, why is he allowed? Why is this allowed? Why does Rob Manfred not step in and say, "Hey, Dick, you can't afford it. Let's move along."
I think at some point, I don't know what it would be called to be exact, but I think at some point, not just in baseball, but sports period, right? I think there has to be a time frame where, we sit here and we watch a team be bad for, I don't know how many years. What do you think is reasonable? Let's say for 5 years straight or something like that, right? Because if we sit here and say 2 to 3 years, that's not really fair, because I think that can happen to teams. Right. So let's say 5 years is the mark, right?
Right.
If 8 years you've been absolutely abysmal, we got to start having conversations where you got people from up north like trying to sit down with you, talking about like, yo, what are you doing this offseason? If not, we have to start looking for somebody else who's interested, because you're not doing your job well.
And that's where it becomes a deeper conversation, right? When are you going to be willing to get uncomfortable to have those conversations? What is it going to take? What is it going to take for you to realize, yo, Bob Nutting is bad for the sport? Yo, Dick Manafort is bad for the sport. Yo, these owners are bad for the sport. I'm sorry, but the Ricketts family, if the Ricketts family in Chicago, who owns the Cubs, does not sign Kyle Tucker and go get another free agent to put around that young core, you should be forced to sell the team, or we should be able to look in your books and tell what's bad or what's wrong with your club. Your financials need to be put out for the public to see. Because if you're not going to show me what's really good, then what are we doing here? And that's why it leads me to this final point, and I'm leaving. I can't wait for Rob Manfred to retire. I cannot wait.
Right.
Because for all the good he's done, because he's done some good. Pitch clock. I like the Manfred man. I don't hate it. I thought I would hate it. I don't hate it. He's done some good.
You like the extra inning rule with the runner on second, or?
Yeah, we don't need to be there for 19 innings. It's
right.
It's 2025, bro. Like I'm kind of good with, getting with the times. But you got Dick Manafort, you got Bob Nutting, Jerry Reinsdorf still owns a team. Jerry Reinsdorf should not be allowed to go anywhere near ownership of a team. Are you kidding me? Somebody please explain why. Why? Why is this allowed? Why are we allowed to do this? Why are fan bases subjected to this? Why?
And I feel bad for those teams, right? Like the Rays.
It's
like
disgusting.
The Rockies, the Pirates, the A's as well. There's a few teams.
Like John Fisher, right? The guy who owns the A's. If I'm an A's fan and I'm from Oakland, I'm wishing the most horrible things to happen to John Fisher when I wake up every day. Because you wait till you get to Vegas to spend money. Not even Vegas. You wait till you get to Sacramento. You start spending money in Sacramento, brother. Mm-hmm. We ain't even in Vegas yet. You gave Brent Rooker the guy. You gave Lawrence Butler the bag. You gave Savvy money. You gave this one money. Sacramento, my boy.
The one thing I do want to give the A's and the Rays specifically, two teams who don't necessarily invest a lot of money into the team, but they actually have an eye for talent, right? Unlike a team like the Pirates and the Rockies, who we just finished talking about, who don't, especially the Pirates. Like, if you're not going to spend money, at least not the Pirates, the Rockies. Sorry, I said that wrong.
Both.
The Pirates, at least, they've got to pull schemes, right? Like you've got to O'Neal Cruz. Obviously, you need more than that, but you've got something there. I'm sorry, but when I look up and down that Rockies roster, I don't see a damn thing. And no disrespect to anybody who's on that team, but I don't look at that roster and I'm like, wow, man, like this guy right here stands out. I'm not saying they don't have a couple of ball players because I'm sure they do.
Right.
But some of these teams who know that they don't invest as much as they
insane.
should, they at least enhance some of the other parts of the team that are not the roster to make sure that they are able to bring something reasonable to the fan base at least.
And that's all fan bases want is reasonable. We know not everybody's going to compete with the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Mets. You know what I mean? We get it. But why did it take the Red Sox all this time to spend some money?
Right.
Why? Oh, but they've been hurt by Chris Sale, and they've been hurt by this contract, hurt by that contract. Listen, you're in a big market like Boston. You should be spending money like the Boston Red Sox.
Mm-hmm.
You should be.
And when they did decide to spend money a couple of seasons ago, I'm going to listen. You mentioned the Red Sox stuff, and it's only right we start getting into it right now. I think they gave money to the wrong player, if you ask me. Yes, I'm talking about that $300+ million deal over 11 years that they gave to Rafael Devers a couple seasons ago. You paid the wrong guy. I'm sorry. He's not a guy you should be building around. When you give a player that type of money, you are automatically, forget the whole captain this, captain that. Listen, forget that stuff. You are automatically saying this guy is our centerpiece for the next decade, if possible.
So hold up. Before we do this, I want y'all to big up yourselves. Throw 11 in the chat right now. There's 11 y'all watching. Throw an 11 in the chat right now. Big up yourselves one time.
Shout out to all of you being here tonight with us for Mother's Day, man. We appreciate it.
Too. Shout out to y'all. And if there's any mothers watching, we love y'all. Salute. But boy, I wonder if you gave the Red Sox truth serum today. Would they have rather paid Mookie Betts the money? Or would you stay on the same charted course and pay Rafael Devers? Because I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be really frank about it. Rafael Devers is going to be the worst extension in the history of this franchise. Because, and notice I'm not yelling, I'm not going to get aggravated, I'm not going to get agitated. When you have to have ownership get on a plane and fly to talk to him. By the way, the Red Sox were just in Boston. The Rangers were just at Fenway right before they went on this road trip.
Right.
You didn't think to sit down and talk to him? Know what I mean? You didn't think to say, Rafi, let's pull you in my office. Let's figure this out, bro. You're causing way too much ruckus, and you're not really producing to be causing this ruckus.
Mm-hmm.
You're not hitting the way you should be hitting and maybe making all this noise. But I will tell you, this is part of the Red Sox fault too, because Alex Cora said it publicly a couple times. Yo, we don't plan on moving him. He's my DH. He's going to be my DH. We're not having discussions about moving him. So, Alex Cora, for the first time since you've been Red Sox manager, you handled this wrong. Because if you were asking him to move, you shouldn't have publicly said, oh, no. You shouldn't have denied it, because your denial looks like you were lied to or you didn't have an honest conversation with your player. And it goes back to this. I'm going to say this. Rafael Devers, you were under contract. You go where the Red Sox tell you to go. You play where the Red Sox tell you to play.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have no say in any of this. They paid you over $300 million, 313 to be exact. If you feel the need to want to question what they're doing, if you feel the need to want to question how they're going about their business, why the hell did you sign a contract in the first place? You know why you signed it? Because you want your money right here and right now. And I'm going to say this for the record. And then, Ivan, I'm shutting up because I want to hear your thoughts on this. I'm dying.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but the former GM promised me That guy's in St. Louis. That guy is nowhere near Boston. Craig Breslow inherited you as a player. Right? So the promises that were made to you, unless they were made directly by ownership, unless it came from Sam Kennedy, unless it came from Tom Warner, unless it came from somebody on the ownership level, your promise went out the window the moment Chaim Bloom no longer was a part of the organization.
Right. There's a different man in charge now. Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you this. This winter, they're going to look into a way to trade Rafael Devers. Don't be surprised, because what did I tell you guys at the start of the winter? If it were Stefan, I'm not speaking for you, Bo, because I don't want them to flame you. Y'all can flame me.
I was actually going to get into that point, but since you already started, go ahead.
You can flame me. Flame Stefan. Leave that man alone on the other side of the screen. He didn't start nothing. He don't want no problems.
I think it makes sense now, because at the time, as you mentioned earlier this year, I was like, I see where it comes from, but not yet. But now that we have to revisit the same BS, which I think is even worse now, 2 months into the season or close to, there's no excuse for this kind of behavior, man. And I'm sorry, Rafael Devers. Listen, I'm not trying to sit here and say that all Dominicans grow up in poverty. You know, I don't know what people's backgrounds are like, right? But Rafael Devers is a fellow Dominican. Like, dude, you ate, you slept, you shit. Like, everything was baseball when it came to you growing up, and it still is. I know as a Dominican playing baseball in the Dominican Republic, you played all over the damn field. Because that's just what we do as kids, right? Where's that Rafael Devers? Got a little bit of money now. Now you want to so-called be the person who calls the shots now? You got to be out your damn mind. Who in the hell are you? That's really how I'm approaching this situation.
I'm gonna let you cook. Keep going, bro. You cooking.
A guy who probably doesn't come from much, you know, a guy who I would think that would be open to doing more, considering the fact that he finally has this opportunity, literally in the palm of his hands, not only to be a millionaire, but we're talking about generational wealth, right? And I know some people are probably going to sit here and say, oh, well, it ain't about the money. You know, why are you mentioning the money? But all right, money aside, is it that hard for you? So because they told you early on in the season, listen, dude, ditch your glove. You're probably not going to need it this year. Don't worry about it. And because they're coming to you now just to play first base, are you kidding me, bro? You were going to go there eventually anyway, whether you liked it or not. Red Sox fans have been saying it. We've been saying it. The Red Sox are probably already thinking it, hence why they already came to you with the Casas injury. Like, yo, dude, could you hold it down for us in the meantime until we figure it out? How the hell are you going to go ahead and say, well, I'm not doing it? You're going to have to go out there and look for a first baseman on the market. Like, yo, what's wrong with these athletes, bro? I can't believe we're dealing with this today. Like, just big babies. That's all I had to say, man.
So I'm gonna keep it short, sweet, and to the point. If I could find for him a trade for him at the trade deadline, I'm trading you, brother. And I'm not trading you nowhere you want to go. No. If it was me, if I was the general manager and president,
ship him to the Rockies.
Yes. I'm trading your ass to Pittsburgh.
Right.
Go eat some Permane brothers, brother. You are done out here. I'm trading you to the Angels. I'm trading you to obscurity We're gonna forget the name Rafael Devers by next week when I'm gonna trade your ass. I'm trading you to the Marlins, brother. Oh, but they can't afford his contract. Oh, don't worry. We'll pay them a significant chunk. Get this nigga out of here because I'm done.
I agree. I think it might have to come to that point. I think I do agree with you. As I said a minute ago, Stefan, I early on, I was like, don't do it, not yet. But this is going to be something that is going to be reoccurring. Here we are, a couple months into the season now, and we're dealing with it yet again. And I don't think this is the end. I hardly believe that this is the end. You should be a fool if you think that.
Yeah, well, you know what, Shrek? Where me and you disagree is
But why is that a bad thing, though, Shrek?
Hold on. They didn't know Tristan Casas was going to tear his patella tendon.
Exactly.
Did they know he was going to get injured? They didn't know that was going to happen. You do what's better for the team. I don't care what they told you. I'm signing your check. You are not an independent contractor. You go when they tell you to go. What are we talking about? They sign your checks, bro. You the one that said, yo, let me take this deal. You the one that said, yo, let me get this money. You the one that said, yo, I want to do X, Y, Z. You go where they tell you to go. What are we talking about here, bro? It's not like, oh, well, he's a free agent and his value could be hurt by this. You locked in for the next 9 years. You go where they tell you to go. Nobody told your ass to sign a contract, but you signed it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You know why the money plays a part in it? Because when I have you paid, I have you by the balls. You do what I tell you to do. And if you don't, you can either retire, which you're not because you're not giving up that money, or we can trade you somewhere, which we probably will.
I think two things need to happen by the end of the season. I'm gonna give it till the end of the season, and I think two things need to happen.
Crazy right now.
Both are going to be the same result, by the way, but it could go either way. Either the Boston Red Sox, as you mentioned, have to move on from Rafael Devers this offseason, or Rafael Devers needs to walk into the office and demand a trade. So one of those need to happen because this is going to be something that's going to happen yearly, it looks like at this point.
And the fact that, listen, Razor says something just now with this comment. Razor, I need you to Ray, this is why I love this brother. Too much coddling and not enough business. Bro, you were just in Boston with this brother. They just played the Rangers a couple days ago. How is it that you were just at Fenway Park with this brother? Nobody decided and nobody said, yo, Rafi, this is what we think about doing. Why did I have to get on a plane and fly to Kansas City to find out what your issues are? Sam Kennedy, John Henry, you guys should be ashamed of yourself. Because I'm not blaming Craig Breslow. Because Craig Breslow, the new general manager, inherited this mess. This is a John Henry problem. Mm-hmm. This is ownership problem. This is a Sam Kennedy problem. This is your problem that you must deal with now because you created this monster. You have to deal with this.
And also, too, we haven't even gotten into this yet, right? But what about some of the youngsters now that the Red Sox are starting to call up? Like, what kind of example does this set for them? They're probably looking around like, well, goddamn, I didn't know I was going to be called up into this mess.
So I'm going to tell you something right now, and I don't know how much of a role this plays, but I wonder if Alex Bregman says, yo, you know what? If I have a decent season, I'm getting the fuck up out of here, dog. I'm going right there to Detroit who wanted me in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Like, oh, you want third base back that badly? You can have it, brother, because I'm out.
You can have it. Could you imagine Alex Bregman in the middle of that Detroit Tigers lineup?
Now that we're thinking about that, I think he might have been better off, man, especially with what the Tigers look like right now without him. You add that as an addition.
Oh my God.
Forget about it.
Yeah. Like
at that point, we could actually have a serious conversation about the Tigers being a serious threat to come out the American League.
Talk about it.
Not seriously.
Not just the Central, but the American League.
Right. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of domination, Cardinals on an 8-game winning streak. I think the Braves were on an 8-game winning streak before they lost today. But listen, Shrek, nobody's hotter than your Kansas City Royals right now, bro. I know they lost 2 out of 3 to Boston this weekend, but y'all were hotter than fish grease.
Yeah, I actually read something just a few days ago. I believe, I don't know where they're at right now, especially with what you just said, Stefan, but I know going back to what I read, at that point, they had won 16 out of 18 games.
Oh, my goodness.
We're talking about nearly 3 weeks worth of games that they won. That's crazy.
And I'm telling you, it's going to come down to, I'm not saying, hold on. I'm not 7-daying it, but we know Costa's injury prone. You tell Devers he's done fielding. You know that. You don't think, Rev. That's a good point, Shrek. That's at that point I can't argue with. You make a very valid point right there. I just think in the moment, you're a team player. You want to do what's best for your guys, for your team, for the manager, for the employer that paid you. That's my point.
But also to your point, Shrek, because we're also missing this, right? Like, who's to say that maybe the Red Sox weren't thinking that in advance, right? Because they got Bregman. Because remember, Rafael Devers' shoulder was still barking before the season even began.
Both shoulders.
Right. So how could you really give a guy reps at first base when the dude is struggling to grip a bat probably, right? Can't even throw the damn ball properly. Who knows what he was dealing with at the time. But I know it was the shoulders that were bothering him for sure.
Right, for sure. And I think ultimately what I think happens is like they gotta rob Peter to pay Paul. You gotta rob Peter to pay Paul. You have to come to a point where it's like you gotta pay the piper. If one doesn't want it, the other one gotta deal with it. You know what I'm saying? As Shrek jokingly says, White Sox, Kansas City Royals World Series incoming. I don't know if I go that far, Shrek. But boy, oh boy, have you been looking good for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, man, they look good. I mean, coming into the season, I was already big on the Royals. You know, I already had them as a playoff team and all that. And I know we still have a whole lot of time until we get to that point. But I think it's gonna be them. It's gonna be the Tigers. It's gonna be I mean, if you're a Yankee fan, if you want to throw them in the mix, you could. It's gonna get interesting as we get closer to the end of the season later this year.
And I'm gonna tell you something. Right now. If I'm the Baltimore Orioles, I gotta have a very serious conversation. You know what the conversation is? Gunnar Henderson's available. Who wants him and for how much? We having that conversation.
That's a good point because it's not like you're gonna pay him anyway. They don't want to.
Gunnar Henderson's available. Who wants him? How many prospects are you willing to give? Let's make this trade.
Damn, you know what's crazy? I feel like years from now, right? Like maybe 5, 7, 10 years from now, we're gonna look back at all of these guys that Baltimore has called up over the past X amount of years and not really making the best out of that situation, not capitalizing when you needed to. Yeah. And I always say this, and credit to your team, Shrek, the Royals, because when they finally get a taste of it, they jump on it. They attack.
They go for it.
Yeah. Some of these other teams, Baltimore in this case, they're just sitting there pretty hard. Young guys are going to figure it out. We don't got to invest.
What's their record? What's their record right now? They're like 14-24 or something like that.
Let's see. I got you right now. They are 15-24.
15.
9 games below 500.
Oh, and guess what? It ain't going to get that much better.
Nope. I agree at all. I don't care how good you think the offense is. I don't care how young the team is. I don't care who's next to be called up.
Yep.
Baltimore, you're bad.
No, I said this at the start of the winter. I was like, What are they doing? What are they doing? And the problem is that David Rubenstein, the new owner, we were talking, oh, he got money, he could fix this, but bro, they're terrible. They're terrible. And I don't care how good Gunnar Henderson hits, how good Jackson Holiday is, how good some of the young players are. Your pitching is a disaster. Sagano's your best pitcher because Sagano's 35 years old.
Right.
Charlie Morton is 35 years old.
Who at this point?
No, he's 41 years old.
Yeah,
he's
hanging up.
He's 40 years old, damn near.
Mm-hmm.
Or 41. 41, I believe. Are you kidding me? Grayson Rodriguez, he's not touching a ball for the rest of this year. Sorry to tell you, he's not touching a ball. If Felix Bautista is healthy, Felix Bautista, Gunnar Henderson, and Ali Rushman should be on the trading block at the trade deadline this season. Period. Because you're going to pay them, but you don't want to pay for pitching?
Right.
Why? Tell me what sense this makes.
Why not? Why not pay for the pitching while you don't have to pay for these guys in the meantime, right? Rather than having to pay for both pitching and offense. You only got to worry about one right now.
That is disgusting. Like, if you're an Oriole fan, you got to be sitting there with, like, you got to be sitting there with a dumbfounded face.
Right? Like, yo, what happened? Like, I thought we were supposed to be enjoying this for, like, the next 3 to 5 years.
None of that. Because the harsh reality is the window's closed before it even opened.
That's a shame, dude. Like, that's really bad. That's really bad.
Them and the Toronto Blue Jays are in the same boat. Because remember when we talk about that Toronto offense, Bo Bichette, Blatty, this one, that one, they were on fire. We love that Toronto team. What failed them? The pitch. What failed them? Defense. What failed them? Requisite players. Putting the proper players on the field to win a championship. Winning a championship is not just what you do between the lines, but it's the people you bring into the clubhouse. Why were you swinging for big names? I'm going to be honest. You know what the Blue Jays' biggest problem is? They stopped chasing baseball players and they started chasing stars.
Mm-hmm.
You remember a guy like Steve Pearce a couple years ago? He won the Red Sox a championship damn near because he had one of the greatest postseasons we've ever seen. You remember?
Yeah, of course.
Steve Pearce, I can't tell you what his career batting average was. I can't tell you what I can't tell you anything about him. But I can tell you in 2019, that brother was hotter than the sun in the middle of August.
Yeah, he balled out for sure, yeah.
He was on fire, my boy. And I'm sitting there saying, you know what, man? Steve Pearce has won you championships. Aaron Judge's, Bobby Witt's, Juan Soto's, they get you to the World Series. Daniel Murphy's won you championships. If you want to go back to those Yankee teams, Paul O'Neill's win you championships. Tino Martinez win you championships. Shane Spencer wins you a championship. Darryl Strawberry wins you championships. Alex Gordon, championship level player. Why is the baseball player being shunned right now? If you're the Boston Red Sox, I want to go back to the Red Sox a second. You have a first base problem. You know who I would call today? And I don't care what his numbers say. I don't care how badly he finished the season. Mind you, he's playing with a broken hand. Anthony Rizzo would have been the first person I called. And the reason why I would have called Anthony Rizzo is you're talking about...
I could see him in Boston, actually.
He was drafted by the Red Sox.
Right.
We're talking about a guy who's a veteran leader, who's won at the highest of levels, who I don't care what his offensive production may or may not be, that brother is still an elite level first baseman. And the thing about him that I love is that he stops that Devers mess right in his tracks, bro. Hold on. We all professionals in here. We're all playing for one common goal. You need to put that to the side, at least for now. This is why veterans are being exiled from the game. This goes back to the conversation we were having last week about analytics and the numbers and what is perceived and what works and what doesn't work. When you lose the integrity of a veteran leader and the ability for them to call out these younger players, you lose the integrity of and the fabric of your club.
You know, I feel like we've gotten to a point where I kind of feel like the analytics is the thing that now determines, you know, which players get a contract at the big league level and which players are getting minor league deals, which is a damn shame, by the way, right? Like, I thought it should always be with the mind, the gut. Obviously, the numbers, you know, should play a role, but not, you know, to the extent where guys who should be getting major league deals just aren't at all.
So I'll give you the perfect example, and we're about to wrap up here. I just want to get to some of the comments before we do. But I'll give you the perfect example. You know why I love what the Mets did this winter? Jesse Winker, they brought him back. Sean Manaea, they brought him back. They focused on continuity rather than just stars. Yes, they got Juan Soto. Yes, they got the guys they got. But they kept the team the same. They brought back guys that were integral parts of what they wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot lose sight of that. We cannot lose sight of, you can't change a roster year in and year out and expect the roster to flourish.
Especially if you're only focusing on big name players, right?
Yes, you need some level of consistency, right? For example, the reason why the Giants are better this year, Buster Posey understands the level of continuity. And you know, I figured out why the Giants are good this year. And I'm going to blow your mind right now. You know who the head coach, the hitting coach of the Giants is? You remember Pat Burrell?
Yeah, Pat Burrell. Mm-hmm.
Pat Burrell is the least analytical hitting coach in the big leagues outside of Brett Boone.
Yeah, I remember him during his time with Philly.
He was with the Giants too.
Giants, right?
Yeah. Pat Burrell got these guys. Yo, we spraying doubles all over the field. If you hit a home run, cool. We spraying doubles all over the field.
I think Pat is a winner too, right? Didn't he win a World Series, if I'm not mistaken? Let me look
with the Giants. I think he did. Yeah. I think he won with the Giants, if I'm not mistaken. He might have won with the Giants. He might have got one with the Phillies too, but I think he won one with the Giants, if I'm not mistaken.
He got one in 08. He was a part of that Phillies team that won in 08, and then he won a second one with the Giants in 2010.
Yeah. Pat Burrell was a good hitter, man.
Right.
Pat Burrell was no joke. Pat Burrell's the type of guy that you talk about having the ability to connect with ball players. That's Pat Burrell. The reason why the Rangers are about to take off offensively, Brett Boone, he knows what he's doing in there. By the way, speaking of the Rangers, I'm leaving now. You seen Jacob deGrom king the world yesterday?
Against the Tigers, I did see, yeah.
Well, how many strikeouts he finished with?
He had 10 through 5 innings, I believe.
Because he had 10 through 4.
10 through 4, but I think he pitched 5 overall. Because I know the pitch count was at like 90 or something by the 5th inning.
Yo.
Yeah, he went 5 innings, 2 earned, 10 Ks.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, to be able to do that through 5 innings, but for certain guys it takes maybe 6 to 7.
That's
and you're
crazy.
Doing it like he's literally getting in and he's getting out.
I don't want to say it out loud, so I'm gonna whisper it. He's back. He's back, kids. You don't strike out 10 dudes in 4 innings if you ain't back.
I remember it was early this year. I think it was during the offseason where I said, and I didn't know what was going to happen, but I said the one thing that I was looking forward to is to finally see one more healthy season out of Jacob deGrom.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's giving it to us right now.
Yo, that fastball looks electric.
Yeah.
Son, if they
and the Rangers, exactly. I see where you were going because I was going
a little bit.
Yeah.
If they hit a little bit with that pitching staff, they could get back to the series.
Yep. Because
there's nobody in the American League outside of Kansas City. Them and Kansas City, to me, have the 2 best starting staffs in the American League.
Mm-hmm. And we're not just talking about like 1 or 2 guys.
Nah, we talking about complete staffs. You know what I'm saying? Where like you're talking about in Texas, you got, they got, what's his name? They got Patrick Corbin. They turned him into a serviceable big leaguer.
Yeah.
Since when? Incredible.
Eovaldi looks insane this season, dude.
He was
Nathan Eovaldi's looking really good, man.
You see him today. He was filthy today. He was filthy. If they hit a little bit, they're gonna be tough to beat.
For sure. I hope with the decision that they made recently that it starts to work in their favor. Because if it does, you could actually add them to the list of teams along with the Tigers, the Royals, the Yankees. Now the Rangers are just going to be in that mix as well.
Mm-hmm. Bro, let's get to some of these comments, man. Nah, I can't do that.
That's. Ooh, listen, Shrek. I'm not gonna sit here and act like you're crazy for saying that.
No, the Tigers pitching been good.
Right? Yeah, it's up there, man.
It's been good, but you're talking about I'm rolling out Nathan Eovaldi. I'm rolling out Jacob deGrom. If they're healthy. The thing I like about Texas' staff is they got a bunch of veterans.
Honestly.
So they can pace themselves and get themselves like, I don't gotta go 7, 8, 9 innings. All right. Tarek Skubal is disgusting. We're not gonna sit there and deny that. You know, Jackson Jobe can be filthy. The upside is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Reese Olson can be disgusting.
Casey Mize, yeah.
Casey Mize, that forget about that. But it's having the wherewithal to get deeper into the season and realize, let me back off. Instead of throwing 98 today, let me throw 95. Let me throw a little bit more change-ups in there. Let me mix up the variety. Let me get myself to a place where it's not just all velocity. Let me pitch.
And that's something that deGrom had to learn over time, right? Because for a while, especially for those of you who remember Jacob deGrom at his peak, we watched him, and while it was amazing to see, a lot of us would see him pitch, and it was like, damn, but you don't necessarily have to go out there and do that every single game.
You don't.
Save some of that for later in the season, especially if pitching the way that you do is going to be the absolute reason why you end up on the IL. Right. Try to avoid certain things, And I think now that he's getting up there in age with the Rangers, he probably has gotten to that point where he's like, listen, I know my stuff is just that good, right? Mm-hmm. So why not switch it up just a bit?
For sure. Anyway, switching it up, brother. Let's read some of these comments before we get on out of here, man.
Yeah, let's go.
Pick a few.
Let's see what we got here. Oh, Shrek, this is an interesting one. He says Royals over Mets in 6 games this year in a World Series. Wow.
Woo!
So you are Shrek. Are we looking at a rematch of the 2015 World Series?
Woo!
That'll be a good one, man. That'll be a good one for sure, especially when you look at where both teams are at now. Really good. I think this Mets team is actually better than that 2015 team, even though the 2015 team had a better starting rotation.
Right.
But I think this lineup, definitely beats that one by a mile for sure. But that's interesting, bro. I like the fact that you put that out there. See, Rick says there are many fans that wanted Iglesias back, and looking at it from a larger scale, that would have been a mistake. They don't want to rely on a single player. Right, and you shouldn't have to if you're a team, right? You know,
Right.
you should be okay with being more than what one singular player brought to the team. So I'm glad that they moved on from that because, you know, we're all seeing it, Rick, right? And I know you are too. The Mets are just fine without him.
Right, for sure. Dollars with the closeout comment. Oh, Shrek says, before we get it, Shrek says higher ceiling pitching wise, but lower floor. I could agree with that, Shrek. I don't disagree with that. I think you're on to something.
Yeah.
Chad says definitely Devers definitely getting traded, but to an NL team. Okay.
He's got to go. And listen, before we go, if you're a Red Sox fan and you're like, well, how are you going to do that? He's got X amount of years left on the deal. Really take a step back and ask yourself, do you want to deal with this? You want to deal with this for the next 3 years, the next 5 years, the next however many years are left on the deal?
Try the next 8 years.
Listen.
No thanks.
Move on.
No
It was a relationship that I would say, you know, was something that I guess looked like it was going to be something that could have worked out long term, but Rafael Devers is just sour, you know. And say what you want about the Red Sox. Listen, did they have the opportunity to handle the situation differently? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Raise up this comment. It's actually going to end the night for us, man, because
Oh, hell to the no. Wait, don't we have that thing here? Hell no. I'm like, we need one of those, bro, because honestly, that's the first thing that came to mind when I read that comment, Rick. Mets fans would hate that. Honestly. They would hate that. To have to deal with that?
Hell no. To the no, no, no. Hell to the no. Hell to the no. To the no, no, no.
Hell no.
Literally.
And on that note, we ain't got to go.
Before you do that, Stefan, thanks again, everybody, for tuning in tonight on this lovely Mother's Day edition of 27 Outs.
Yep.
As I mentioned at the top of tonight's show, we are at 99 followers. Excuse me. I almost said 95. 99 followers on Instagram. We're also on TikTok. We're approaching 2,000 likes there. And the Twitter, help us out over there as well. You know, all three, you can find us at 27 Outs 3C. For those of you who are watching right now, we still got a good amount in here, but we're out of here. But if you have not hit the thumbs up button, it only takes a second. Thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. We're on the road to 200.
And if
I
you
think
know
that's
somebody,
it, man.
If you know somebody that loves baseball, introduce them to the channel. We got tons of shorts. If they don't want to sit through a full video, there's tons of shorts and other content they can consume. So yeah, let them know.
Yo, you see that comment by Shrek? Shrek, she said, just trade him overseas. Why don't you?
God damn. Anyway, we ain't got to go home, but we get to get the hell up out of here. So peace.
We out of here, guys. Good night.